Before pills, your ancestors survived using a pharmacy that grew in the mud. Headaches, menstrual pain, low blood pressure, everything had a cure. These herbs are the reason we exist today. They were refined by nature over billions of years. And finally, even modern science recognizes how effective they truly are. Today, we are opening the Green Medicine Cabinet. Here are 12 herbs you might have mistaken for weeds, but they are more potent than the medicine in your bathroom. It is time you learned how to use them. Number 1. Yarrow. When you cut yourself today, you might reach for a tissue. But in the ancient world, a bleeding wound was often a death sentence. The difference between life and death was speed. This is where yarrow enters the story. In the mist-shrouded Hebrides, the Highlanders didn't know this plant as yarrow, so they knew it as Irthalmhain. It wasn't just medicine, it was a charm. Folklore tells us that before a battle, a warrior would hold the leaf to his eyes, believing it granted second sight, the power to predict the outcome of the fight. But its practical use was even more valuable. During the fierce clan feuds of the Highlands, when a sword struck deep, yarrow was the only thing that could stop the life from flowing out on the moor. Science now confirms why the clans trusted it. Yarrow contains a compound called acetylene. This doesn't just sit there. It actively reduces blood clotting time. It signals your blood to thicken and seal the injury faster. While modern medicine sticks work by burning the tissue to seal it, yarrow stops the bleed biologically, while also soothing inflammation. It cleans the wound with natural oils, preventing the infection that killed more warriors than swords ever did. It is a complete trauma kit in a single leaf. While yarrow stops the life from flowing out of you, our next plant focuses on the structural damage that lies beneath the skin. Number 2. Comfrey. If yarrow is the emergency medic, Comfrey is the orthopedic surgeon. In the folk tradition, you will rarely hear it called by its name. The ancestors knew it by its function, knit bone, or bone set. Its purpose was singular and profound. It was the remedy for the slow healing parts of the human body, the bones, the tendons, and the deep connective tissues that hold us together. The Roman legions understood this power well. Their physicians would dig up the thick black root of the plant, mash it into a paste, and apply it to broken limbs. This wasn't just a primitive cast to hold the bone in place. It was a bioactive delivery system. In the rough agrarian life of the Celtic nations, where crush injuries from livestock were common, this plant was an essential resident of every garden. The mechanism behind this is almost unbelievable. Comfrey contains a compound called allantoin. Think of this as a biological ignition switch. It acts as a cell proliferant, which is just science speak for a substance that forces your cells to multiply rapidly. It commands the body to synthesize, or build, new collagen strings to knit the injury back together. Modern research shows that the fresh plant works better than the isolated chemical because it is packed with mucilage, a thick, natural gel that cools and soothes the tissue while the medicine does its work. However, respect is required. Comfrey is for external use only. Never eat it, as it can damage the liver, but applied as healing paste laid. Once the deep structure is knitting back together, we must turn our attention to the surface, where dirt and poisons threaten to undo the healing process. Number 3. Plantain. You likely stepped on this plant today. Plantain is often dismissed as the most common fruit in the world, thriving in the cracks of driveways or random backyards. But the Celts called it the mother of herbs. While yarrow stops bleeding and comfrey fixes bone, plantain is the master of drawing. It is the primary agent for pulling out poisons, pus, and foreign debris from the body. It earned the name soldier's herb because it grows where armies march, in compacted, hard soil. Roman soldiers, suffering from foot rot and blisters, it would line their sandals with these leaves to soothe their skin during long campaigns. A soldier could chew the leaf to activate it and place it directly on a dirty wound. It effectively sealed the injury from the filth of the battlefield. Science reveals a complex chemical spiderweb. Plantain contains aucubin, a powerful antimicrobial agent that fights off dangerous bacteria. But its true genius is in how it draws out these bacteria. The leaf is packed with mucilage that dries and contracts, creating a physical pull that drags toxins and splinters to the surface. Studies show it can speed wound closure by up to 30% compared to leaving injuries untreated. Unlike a simple antibiotic ointment that kills bacteria but does nothing else, Plantain cleans the wound, reduces the swelling, and helps close the skin. It is the ultimate bandage, offering a holistic therapy that a tube of Neosporin simply cannot match. Healing the wound is only half the battle. Next, we must address the deep, throbbing pain that often lingers long after the danger has passed. Number 4. White Willow. Pain management in the modern world usually involves a plastic bottle of pills. But the history of pain relief is actually the history of the willow tree. This tree is the direct ancestor of the world's most famous drug, aspirin. For the Celts, who lived in the freezing rain, the deep, locking stiffness of the bones and the burning heat of swollen joints were constant sources of pain. They didn't suffer in silence. They turned to the bark of the white willow. The use of this tree is older than the Roman Empire. The ancient text of the Ebers Papyrus mentions it for inflammation, and Hippocrates prescribed it for the agony of childbirth. The logic was simple and effective. You harvested the bark in the spring when the sap was rising, decocted it, and drank the bitter tea to numb the deep pains of the body. The science is precise. Willow bark contains salicin. When you drink it, your body converts this compound into salicylic acid. This acid turns off the enzymes in your body that signal pain and cause inflammation. It works exactly like aspirin, but with a crucial difference. Synthetic aspirin hits your system all at once, which can be harsh. Willow bark acts as a slow release, providing longer sustained relief. Studies have shown it provides comparable pain relief to high-dose synthetics, but causes less irritation to the stomach lining. However, like aspirin, it creates a blood-thinning effect and is not for children, but for the adult in pain, it is a superior option. For those whose stomachs are too sensitive even for the gentle willow, nature provides a diplomat that soothes the gut while it silences the pain. Number 5. Meadowsweet. If willow is the heavy artillery of pain relief, Meadowsweet is the milder alternative. Many people today cannot take aspirin or harsh painkillers because of acidity, reflux, or sensitive stomachs. Meadowsweet is the specific answer to this dilemma. It held a place of high honor among the Celts, ranked as one of the 3 sacred herbs of the Druids. Its sweet, almond-like scent filled their dwellings, but its true power was medicinal. In fact, this humble plant is the very reason we have the word aspirin. The drug was named after Spirea, the old Latin name for meadowsweet. Scientists in the 19th century were trying to make a painkiller that didn't burn a hole in the stomach, and they looked to this plant for inspiration. Meadowsweet represents a pharmacological paradox that synthetic drugs struggle to replicate. Like willow, it contains the same active ingredients found in aspirin, but nature packaged them alongside high levels of tannins and mucilage. These compounds tighten and coat the stomach lining, acting as a buffer. The very herb that provides the acid to kill the pain also provides the antacid to protect your gut. Modern research confirms this dual action, showing it can actually promote the healing of ulcers while treating pain. The German Commission E approves it specifically for digestive complaints. It is the perfect remedy for those who need relief, but cannot tolerate the harshness of modern pharmaceuticals. Pain is not just internal. Sometimes it settles in the stiff joints of your hands and knees, requiring a remedy that bites back to drive it away. Number 6. Nettle. To the uninformed, stinging nettle is a nuisance to be sprayed and avoided. But to the Celtic herbalist, it was a powerhouse of nutrition and a unique remedy for the deep aches of arthritis and the misery of seasonal allergies. It is a plant that demands respect, for its medicine is delivered through a sting. The Roman soldiers stationed on Hadrian's Wall in the freezing north utilized a practice that sounds barbaric to us today. To combat the numbing rheumatism of the cold climate, they would deliberately flog their limbs with bundles of fresh nettle. This practice, called urtication, was not madness. It was based on empirical evidence. The sting caused a rush of blood to the cold joints, warming them instantly. The way it works is almost clever enough to be a trap. The plant's tiny hairs act like hypodermic needles, injecting a mix of natural chemicals that create a sudden, sharp burn. This triggers a massive response from your body. It effectively overwhelms and exhausts the nerves, using up all the chemical messengers they need to send pain signals. It quiets the deep ache of arthritis by running the pain reserves dry. But the twist is even stranger. While the fresh plant causes itching, the dried leaf stops it. It acts as a shield, locking the doors in your body that pollen tries to open. Studies show it works just as well as standard allergy pills to stop runny noses, but without the drowsiness. Whether used as a fire for the joints or a shield against the spring air, Nettle is an ally worth the risk. While Nettle fixes stiff joints, there's another kind of suffering that plagues the mind and spirit, requiring a sedative of profound strength. Number 7. Valerian. The ancient world was filled with raw, constant threats. The herbs they used to quiet the mind were not gentle, relaxing teas. They were heavy tools for survival. Valerian is the brute force of this category. It is not for mild stress. It is for the profound sleeplessness and the nervous tension that shakes the soul. In the valleys of Wales, the legendary physicians of Midfi, a lineage of healers dating back to the 12th century, relied on this root. They didn't just use it for sleep. They prescribed it for falling sickness and to guard against the fairy stroke, a sudden paralysis believed to be caused by spirits. For the Celts, this root was a shield for the nervous system against the chaos of the unseen world. It was given to warriors returning from battle, to mothers in difficult labor, to elders whose minds wandered between worlds at night. The mechanism of action explains its potency. Valerian works on the brain in a way that is strikingly similar to modern drugs like Valium. It inhibits the breakdown of GABA, a chemical in your brain that calms nerve activity. By keeping GABA levels high, it forces the nervous system to power down. However, unlike modern pills, Valerian does not bind aggressively to the receptors that cause addiction. It offers the knockout punch needed for deep rest without the chemical dependency. It is the safe, non-addictive answer to a world that has forgotten how to sleep. If Valerian is the anchor for the anxious mind, St. John's Wort is the light for the depressed spirit. Number 8. St. John's Wort. If Valerian is the anchor for the anxious mind, St. John's Wort is the light for the depressed spirit. It is the premier herbal antidepressant, historically associated with driving away the darkness, both the literal darkness of the northern winter, and both the long nights of winter, and the deep, heavy sadness that can consume a person. The Celts called it fuga demonum, or demon chaser. They believed it offered protection against evil spirits, wearing it into battle for invincibility. The plant blooms around the summer solstice, the day of peak sunlight, and when you crush the yellow flowers, they bleed a red oil. This oil was used to dress wounds, but the tea was the specific cure for the heavy heart and nervous exhaustion. Modern clinical research has indicated this demon chaser more than almost any other plant. It is likely the most studied herb for the mind in history. The way it works is comprehensive. Instead of targeting just one brain chemical like most modern pills, it boosts 3 distinct pathways at once. It helps you hold on to joy, motivation, and energy simultaneously. Huge studies have confirmed the result. It works just as well as standard prescriptions for lifting the gray fog, but without the heavy side effects. But this power comes with a price. It revs up your liver so much that it scrubs other drugs out of your system before they can do their job. It can wipe out birth control or heart medication in days. You must treat it with the respect of a loaded weapon, because biologically, that's exactly what it is. St. John's Wort helps you face the day, but this next plant helps you navigate the night. Number 9. Mugwort. Mugwort is known as the mother of herbs. Its focus is unique among the plants we have discussed. It bridges the gap between the waking mind and the dreaming mind, while also regulating the reproductive cycles of women. It is the herb of the seer and the midwife. Roman soldiers placed it in their sandals to prevent fatigue on long marches. But in the Celtic world, its value was spiritual and gynecological. It was smoked or drunk to induce vivid, lucid dreams and to aid in prophecy. Physiologically, it was the primary herb used to bring down the moon. stimulating menstruation and aiding women in difficult labor. The science behind the magic involves a compound called thujone. In high doses, thujone is toxic, but in the small amounts found in mugwort tea, it stimulates the nervous system just enough to create a state of alert relaxation. This unique state facilitates the vivid imagery of dreams. Furthermore, studies suggest it acts on the serotonin system to relieve the pain of menstrual cramps, often proving more effective than ibuprofen in clinical trials. However, because it stimulates blood flow to the uterus, it is strictly forbidden during pregnancy. It acts as a powerful key to the subconscious. We leave the shadows of the mind and return to the hard reality of blood and muscle. We need to reinforce the body's engine. Number 10. Hawthorn. The heart is the engine of the body, and Hawthorn is a drug that services that engine. Unlike modern heart drugs like digitalis, which are toxic and force the heart to beat harder, Hawthorn operates on a different logic. It acts as a superfood for the cardiac muscle itself, feeding the tissue to improve its structure over time. It is the nurse of the old heart. In Irish folklore, the hawthorn is the fairy tree. It was considered such bad luck to cut one down that farmers would plow around them for centuries, leaving them standing alone in the middle of fields. This superstition likely preserved a vital resource. The red berries, or haws, were a critical winter food and tonic that protected the people during times of scarcity. Science reveals that hawthorn acts like a hydraulic engineer for the cardiovascular system. It is rich in flavonoids that do two things simultaneously. First, they increase the force of the heart's contraction, helping it pump more blood with each beat. Second, they dilate the coronary arteries, lowering the resistance against which the heart must pump. This makes the heart more efficient. It's like upgrading the engine while also widening the exhaust pipe. Less work, better performance. Studies comparing it to standard heart failure drugs have found it to be comparable in effectiveness for early-stage heart failure, but with far fewer dangerous side effects. It repairs and strengthens the pump rather than just whipping it to work harder. A strong heart keeps you moving, but it won't save you from a virus. We need a tool that stops infection at the door. Number 11. Elderberry. In Celtic folklore, the elder was not just a tree, it was a being. They believed a sentient spirit lived inside the trunk. The Elder Mother. It was strictly forbidden to cut the wood without chanting a specific prayer to ask her permission first. To burn the wood on a fire was to invite disaster and death into your home. This deep fear likely saved them. Because the tree was too sacred to burn as fuel, it was left standing to provide its fruit when the winter sickness came. The dark purple berries were the only shield they had against the flu seasons that could wipe out entire villages. The Elder Mother was protected because she protected them. Modern science allows us to see the actual mechanism. The flu virus is covered in sharp protein spikes. It uses these to latch onto your cells and force its way inside to multiply. Elderberry stops this through direct physical contact. The juice coats those spikes completely. Because the virus is covered, it cannot attach to your cells. It effectively bounces off. The results are undeniable. Patients taking this extract recovered 4 days faster than those who took nothing. That power rivals modern drugs like Tamiflu. But a warning is necessary. The raw berries contain a natural poison and must be cooked to be safe. Once heated, however, they become a specific biological tool for stopping the flu. But prevention is only half the battle. True health requires deep internal cleansing. We end with the herb that scrubs the system clean. Number 12. Burdock. We hear the word detox a lot today, often used to sell expensive juices. But for the Celts, detoxification was a medical necessity. It meant restoring the proper function of the elimination pathways. Burdock is the king of this category, known as the blood purifier. Burdock is a tenacious survivor. Its sticky burrs were the inspiration for Velcro, and its taproot digs deep into the earth. In times of famine, it was a survival food, rich in starch. During brutal winters, when other crops had long withered, families would dig up these thick roots, roast them, and eat them to stay alive. But in folk medicine, it was the primary treatment for bad blood, chronic inflammation that showed up as eczema, gout, and angry skin eruptions. Here's what's actually happening inside your body. Burdock root is packed with inulin, a powerful prebiotic fiber that makes up nearly half of the root's composition. This inulin feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut, which then modulates your immune system from the inside out. But it doesn't stop there. Burdock also acts as a diuretic, kicking your kidneys into gear and stimulating your lymph nodes to flush out the metabolic garbage that builds up in your system. Think of it like cleaning out a clogged drain. Most skin problems, acne, eczema, psoriasis, are your body's overflow valve. When your liver and kidneys can't handle the toxic load, your body tries to push it out through your skin. Burdock doesn't just cover up the mess on your skin with creams or lotions. It cleans the blood that feeds your skin. Real healing starts from within, and Burdock proves it. We traded the stomach protection of Meadowsweet for the convenience of a pill. We traded the complex healing of Plantain for a tube of simple antibiotic ointment. But the cost has been fragility. Using these plants isn't just about health. It is about taking control. These friends grow in the ditches and the tall grass, just waiting for you to find them. They were the survival kit of the past, and science proves they are still the tools we need to stay strong. But I want to ask you, which of these weeds have you been fighting in your garden, not realizing they were medicine? Tell me in the comments. Let's keep this knowledge alive together.